In the middle of a huge, quiet conflict called the Cold War, America's top spies had a truly wild idea. It was a plan so strange it sounds like it came from a movie. They wanted to turn an animal into a secret listening device. This period in history wasn't a war with soldiers and tanks. It was more like a super-secret staring contest between America and another powerful country, the Soviet Union. Each side desperately wanted to know what the other was planning. Getting these secrets was hard. Spies in trench coats could be caught. Hidden microphones could be found. They needed something new, a clever tool that no one would ever suspect. So they asked a simple question. What can wander almost anywhere, completely unnoticed? A cat. A cat could sit under a bench in a park or curl up near an important meeting, and nobody would think twice. The project was born. To turn this idea into reality, they brought in smart doctors and scientists. They performed an incredible 1-hour surgery on a cat. They had to carefully transform this animal into a piece of high-tech spy equipment. First, the cat needed to hear. They placed a tiny microphone inside its ear canal. This allowed it to pick up even quiet conversations happening nearby. It was a perfect hidden ear. Next, the cat had to send what it heard back to the spies. So the team put a small radio transmitter at the base of the cat's skull where it was completely hidden by fur. This secret technology needed power. A tiny battery was also put inside the cat. It was just strong enough to run the microphone and the transmitter for a short mission. When the surgery was done, the cat looked perfectly normal. But it was now a walking listening machine. It was a living, breathing bug designed to steal secrets. There was still one big challenge. A radio needs an antenna to work. You can't just have a cat walking around with a wire sticking out of it. The solution was pure genius. The tail was not just a tail anymore. It was a work of art. Woven inside was a thin, delicate wire. This wire was the antenna. It was designed to pick up every whisper, every secret word, and send it back to the spies listening nearby. But after all that incredible work, they hit a wall. A simple wall. The tiny microphone worked. The hidden battery worked. The tail antenna worked. They had built the perfect listening device. Except for one huge problem. The problem was the cat itself. A cat does not take orders. It doesn't care about secret missions. The spies quickly learned that their super spy got distracted. It would get hungry and wander off to find food. It would get bored and decide to take a nap in the sun. All that amazing technology was inside an animal with its own ideas. The world's smartest scientists could build a radio the size of a pea, but they could not tell a cat where to go. Their multi-million-dollar project had a mind of its own, so they tried to train it. For weeks in a secret location, the spies worked with the cat. They would try to guide it over very short distances. Their goal was to teach it to walk from their van to a nearby meeting, sit down, and just listen. They used food as a reward, a little treat for walking in the right direction. Sometimes the cat would listen, but most of the time it would just do what it wanted. The cat's mind was a puzzle that even the best spies in the Cold War could not solve. This was not a cheap experiment. This single project, called Acoustic Kitty, cost about $20 million. That is an amazing amount of money for one animal. It was one of the most expensive cats in history. Think about that number. With $20 million, you could buy hundreds of houses. You could buy thousands of brand new cars. All of that money, all of that science, and all of that hope was placed on this one tiny animal. But after all the training and all the money, it was finally time. Time for the very first mission. The moment of truth. The spies carefully placed the cat inside a special, unmarked van. The air inside was thick with hope and worry. They drove to a park in Washington, D.C. The target was just ahead. 2 men were sitting on a park bench talking. The spies believed they were sharing secrets. The plan was simple. Open the van door, let the cat wander over to the bench and listen in. The van door slid open. The moment had arrived. Across the street, the 2 men sat on a park bench talking. The cat, now a living listening device, hopped out onto the sidewalk. Years of research, millions of dollars, all came down to this single walk across the pavement. But the cat did not walk toward the bench. It paused. It looked around at the busy street, and then it wandered right into the middle of the road, where it was immediately hit by a taxi. The entire mission, from start to finish, lasted less than 5 minutes. It was a complete and total failure. The spies inside the van sat in stunned silence. All that incredible work, all that delicate surgery and secret training was gone in a flash. The project, known as Acoustic Kitty, was canceled that very same day. There would be no second attempt. A declassified report later explained what happened. The scientists were praised for creating the amazing technology. They had actually done the impossible part. But the report concluded that the world of high-stakes spying was, and I quote, "no place for cats." They had learned a very hard and very expensive lesson. But this crazy story is more than just a funny mistake. It is a perfect window into a moment in time. It shows us how the deep fear and suspicion during the Cold War pushed people to try absolutely anything. No idea was too strange if it might give them an edge. It also reminds us that history isn't just about big battles or famous leaders signing papers. It is made of thousands of small, weird human moments like this. These hidden stories show us what life was really like and the incredible lengths people would go to for their beliefs. Our world is full of these hidden stories, tucked away in forgotten files and dusty archives. They are waiting to be found. Each one is like a secret key. When you find one, it unlocks a new way of seeing everything. You start to understand that the past wasn't a simple story. It was a messy, surprising, and often very strange place, full of real people trying to solve huge problems with wild ideas. And that is the real beauty of a story like this. It teaches us that even the biggest failures have something important to share. The Spy Cat never completed its mission, but its story succeeds in showing us the amazing, unpredictable, and wonderfully human side of history. But the Spy Cat was not alone in its strangeness. The Cold War was a time of wild ideas. Scientists were asked to think of anything, no matter how weird, to get an edge. One plan, called Project Pigeon, tried to use birds to guide bombs. They literally put pigeons in the nose of a missile. It got stranger. There were ideas about psychic spies, people who could see secrets with their minds. They tried to build flying saucers and earthquake machines. These projects sound like they belong in comic books, not in secret government files. But they were real. They spent millions of dollars on them. So why did they do it? The reason is simple: fear. The two biggest powers on Earth, America and the Soviet Union, were locked in a silent fight. Each side was terrified the other had a secret weapon, a hidden trick that could win the war in an instant. This fear pushed them to try everything. Imagine living in a world where you thought your enemy might be listening through walls or reading your mind. It was a time of deep suspicion. This feeling wasn't just in spy agencies, it was everywhere. It shaped how people thought and what they were willing to try. And this way of thinking didn't just disappear, it planted a seed. The race to create secret gadgets and powerful computers for the Cold War led to other things. It pushed technology forward faster than ever before. Many of the tools we use every day have roots in this time of secrets. Think about the small computer in your phone, or the internet that connects the whole world. Their journey started in places like this. They began as government projects, born from that same desire to be one step ahead. The wild ideas of the past helped create the normal world of today. Even the failures, like the poor cat, were not a total waste. Every time an idea didn't work, it taught the scientists something important. It showed them which paths were dead ends. This is a huge part of how we learn and invent new things. Failure is a teacher. These strange projects were like explorers mapping a new land. Most of the time they found nothing, but they were still drawing the map. They were marking the places not to go. This helped later explorers, the ones who would build our modern world, find the right way. It reminds us that history is made by people, not just famous leaders, but also the forgotten scientists in a secret lab trying to train a cat to be a spy. They were doing their best with the world they were given. They were trying to solve huge problems with creative and sometimes very weird solutions. And that is the hidden truth. The story of our world isn't just written by the winners and their grand successes. It's also written in the margins, in the declassified files filled with failed projects and crazy ideas. These stories show us the true depth of human hope, fear, and imagination.